I designed a simple jig to install figure 8 fasteners more efficiently and with greater accuracy, and in this video I'll show you how to use it and why you should build one too. Shop fix. It's for the love of woodworking. This jig has two parts, the top reference board and the side reference board. The jig has a hole the exact diameter of the figure 8 fastener and is used to align the hole to the exact spot you'd like the figure 8 fastener to be located. To make sure the fastener is flush with the wood, I set the depth gauge on my drilling guide prior to drilling. Alternatively, you could use tape on your drill bit to reference the correct depth. The remaining wood on the edge will need to be chiseled away as to allow plenty of room for the fastener to rotate as the wood expands and contracts. Since this jig references the side of your workpiece, the placement of the figure 8 fastener will always be perfect as long as you have some way of locking in the depth. I repeated this process all the way around the trestle leg base, and in the end I had 22 fasteners installed. With so many fasteners to install, you can see why a jig like this is so important to save time. With all the recesses now drilled for the fasteners, I needed to drill a shallow pilot hole for each of the screws so they don't tear out the wood once I drive them in. I angled the pilot hole slightly backwards so that the screws wouldn't rest too close to the edge, which could also cause tear out. If you've been wondering why the heck I'm in my kitchen instead of the shop, the simple answer is that I needed more working room and also a dust-free area to apply the final coats of boiled linseed oil to the trestle table base, while at the same time working on the benches in my shop. With the final coats applied, I began to install the figure 8 fasteners all the way around the table base. I would be careful here and make sure not to drill too quickly because you don't want to strip the screws or damage the wood. The fasteners at the end should be orientated right in the middle of the recess, while the fasteners going in the opposite direction should be orientated with a slight angle to allow for proper movement as the wood shifts seasonally. Later on, once I had the slab tabletop completed, I aligned and positioned it on top of the base and drilled small pilot holes for the final screws. One tip I have is to make sure you mark the placement of the top really well and mark it so you know which side goes where. I use Sharpie markings on each of the corners to do that here. This trestle table is 9 feet long, and for the ease of delivery, I decided to rent a 10-foot U-Haul truck, which increased the overall cost but made the process so much simpler because I got to leave the base completely assembled. My dad and I successfully delivered it to the client's house and even managed to flip the huge slab top onto the base all by ourselves. In fact, I think it's the heaviest thing I've ever made. Well, once we had it positioned on top, the final step was to drive in screws into the pilot holes I made. If you're planning on using figure 8 fasteners on your next project, I hope this video helped and gave you some inspiration as well. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe to the ShopFix channel. In the end, I was really proud of how the table turned out, and its character and uniqueness impressed me. Well, that's all for now. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.